Hey guys, this is Phil Galfond for runonce.com. I generally like to review my own play, largely because of stakes, but I actually enjoy reviewing other people's play, and I'm pretty excited that we got some 2550 heads up footage submitted by a Run on Once member here. So I am going to just get into the footage. I haven't seen any of it at this point. Flop trips on the right. We face a little under third pot. I think pretty clear call. Like on Jack 7, we have to be more passive with trips because our opponent's going to have more trips. Whereas on Queen 4-4, we can be a lot more aggressive with trips, even without great kickers. And especially on like 10-4-4. So here I would call. You have a lot of hands that would like to call and would like to be protected by this. And if we raise and get in 75 big blinds on the flop, I mean, obviously, oftentimes when we get raised and he continues, it's just with a call. But I don't think we're in great shape against the jamming range. So just call. Left table, raise and limp. I would bet my range on this board for, I would split sizings and do a third pot and a full pot. This hand, I would third pot. Half pot's fine. So right table, we face third pot again. This is not something I expect to see often. I expect OOP to check a lot on this turn. Having the kind of advantage in aces and kings, and on this 9 of diamonds, aces and kings aren't that thrilled to bet. Whereas on like a 5, sure. So, what's that? I mean, our hand's just a call. It is, it can be very tempting to get protection from a hand like this, but we're not getting it in good. We have a lot of river playability, both with our hand and our range. And I, much prefer to have this in my calling range than to just raise all of my jacks that can raise, or like, I mean, obviously it can raise, but it's not even that thrilled to raise. Left table, I would check. No diamond blocker, and, a hand that's going to win at showdown sometimes. Face 3 big blinds and 12. So, I mean, we have to check call the turn on the left. It's not very thrilling because we don't beat value and we don't have that much equity against better, but it's just too cheap. Our hand's a little bit too good. I mean, easy check and decide on river. Right table, this is strange. So, I mean, third pot, this is usually going to be a flush. Although a flush can go bigger. Well, a strong flush can go bigger when the board's double paired, I think. I think getting this price, I would just go ahead and call. Oftentimes on the turn, that small bet in a spot where we don't expect to see a lot of small bets is going to be from a hand that like doesn't want to check fold to half pot. So generally that's an unpaired hand that has some kind of draw, which obviously diamonds came in and we don't block any diamonds, but that also means it can just be like any queen 10, which obviously we block, but king queen 10, ace king 10 with hearts, etc. I mean, our blockers are not good here at all. I mean, obviously the jack is good, but queen 10 with a heart is bad. Very bad. But I don't know, against this price, like I think we lose probably. And it's probably a flush that we lose to. Potentially a straight. But I think his turn range was weak, generally. And so I think, we just win often enough that getting this price, we have to try. Interesting bet on the left from our opponent. I mean, I think it's okay. It's hard to do something about. Yeah, so he had the hand that, didn't want to check fold. I mean, that hand could check call against half pot, but it has no pair, so it wants to get the fold equity, etc. So I'm not at all surprised to see that on the turn. and not at all surprised to see that on the river. I think Hero played the hand, well, exactly as I would have. Whether that's perfectly or not, who knows? So left table, I use third pot on these boards. I think you can do a lot of things. This hand I usually bet. Right table, I think this is just a fold against half pot. We don't have a lot of good turns. I mean, that's the good turn. I had 2 good turns, really. Yeah, I would just keep barreling off on the left. We don't block any pairs. We have a 5 and the ace of hearts. The 5 doesn't matter that much because we're not repping a straight. Well, it matters now because we're going to check and win against sets sometimes. All right, hold on, let me go back. Okay, so we raise on the left. I think queen, 8-7 should 3-bet against our stack size. And on the right, we defended. Yeah. So right table. Oh, we donk turn. How do I feel about? I mean, I don't do this. So I don't donk at all here. I think in theory you do want some donks, but I just think it's simpler not to. And I don't think I give up much EV, if any. And well, you have to. In theory, you give up some if solver has donks and you don't. But I think it's minuscule amount of EV, and I think it's dangerous to include donks here and not execute it well. And it's pretty hard to execute well, I think. So I wouldn't have donks. I think in theory this is probably solver approved sometimes, and I think if I did have donks, an easier strategy to execute would be a bigger bet, where you're just leveraging your advantage in full houses because your opponent's not going to bet a lot of 5-4 and 5 deuce and deuce deuce and 4-4, just 5-5. People bet a lot of top set and some middle set on a board like this with 2 straights. So I would leverage the full house advantage and just go pot when I donked. Again, solver probably does some small stuff, but I think that strategy is the strategy I described is a lot easier to execute. But I'm not. But as far as reviewing our hero's play here, I would just say, be careful about the range that you represent. So the interesting thing here is we faced a flop bet, which is going to be for value. It's going to be straights, sets, or some sets, and some 2-pair, and then as a bluff, a bunch of random hands, and then some draws that are reasonably strong. When we also there'll be some like king plus clubs, stuff like that. When we bet turn, the random air folds. So like the ace queen 9-6 with the queen of clubs, that stuff folds turn. So now I think we see a lot of straights, some overpairs, but not that many overpairs because I don't think overpairs are betting without a strong draw to go with them. So I think we actually see a lot of straights and a lot of air. Obviously, those hands can hit a queen. The air hands can hit a queen. Air being draws that missed. Because if you bet with like 7-6 with clubs, he's not folding turn to third pot. So anyways, my point is I don't think there's value on this river. I think it can be very tempting to block bet again because you prevent him from betting big with straights and putting you in an awkward spot or whatever, betting big with boats, etc. But I don't think there's enough value. So I would just check here. I guess the one hand I didn't mention is trips. That is like 5, 6, 7 type hands. But yeah, so I think this is a big mistake. Kind of, if you're going to bet it's third pot or less, I think that 11 and like this is just too big. I don't think our opponent has to call with. Anyway, I think I don't want to. I'm trying to do math in my head. I think our opponent doesn't have to call with worse often at all. I might be wrong about Well, that's if my assumptions about our opponent's range are correct. Left table, I prefer to check call with this hand. Has a decent amount of playability on turns, but when you check raise and get, like, you check raise here, he calls the 15 big blinds. So you have 36 big blinds in the pot. Oh, okay, we're short. We're just jamming. Okay, I was thinking 100 big blind play. I was just going to say, like, there are a lot of turns, like you turn a jack high flush draw and then what do you do? But here, I still don't really like it. So we're just going with this. Because, I mean, I guess I'm not well versed enough in short stack play. I can see that, like, against 9-5 we have reasonable equity, but it just feels a little bit too weak to go with. I wonder if that's solver approved. Right table, I think we have an easy fold. We shouldn't have value bet this hand. Obviously, our 5 blocker is very useful. I guess I shouldn't say easy fold. We shouldn't have value bet this big, in my opinion. But our 5 blocker, unblocking clubs, is better than a straight if we had played a straight this way, certainly. I'm not sure if our sizing was a tell, because, you know, I don't know Hero's strategy both on turn and river. I would have bet big on the turn. I would have had no sizing tells, because if I had a donking range, it would be pot only. And the sizing tell would be that it's polarized to boats and boat blockers and air, you know. This sizing, to me, if I were villain, this would look like a straight to me. Or maybe deuce. That's a little bit gun shy, but I still think that should go bigger. After small betting turn with deuce, we should just pot river. Anyways, our blockers are good. The 7's very slightly bad. The 5 is really, really good. Because it's not a guarantee that our opponent's shoving an under full. And like I said, deuce should check the flop a lot. 4-4 should check the flop sometimes. Queen, like dry queen should not bet the flop. So we're only looking at queen plus clubs. So the 5 is going to be a huge part of the value range. So I don't know. In theory, this combo is very good for calling. Once we've gotten here this way, I don't have any kind of read on this opponent. Like I tried to make a read earlier on the turn bet on the jack 7-9, but here that's kind of a population read that I've noticed. But here I don't have a population read that is helpful, and I don't have enough on this opponent. So I would I think this is close, and you would know the player pool better than me.